Hi everyone. Okay, so today I want to talk to you about dynamic verbs. Okay, what are they? Well, they're verbs that drive your description forward in a sentence. They are verbs that create impact, and they're verbs that can be pictured. Okay, quite often they can be pictured. So, why do we use them? Well, they give our description energy. Okay, they give us energy. That's the best way I can describe it, and you'll see that in a few minutes. But they give our description, they give our sentences, and they give our writing energy. Okay, and we'll see that in a second. How am I going to do it? So hopefully my ugly mug won't be in the way there. I'll just move that picture. Okay, so I'm going to teach you about dynamic verbs in 5 steps. First of all, I'm going to be talking about avoiding auxiliaries. More about that in a second. Then a little bit about adverbs, then something about actable verbs, which is just the name I give to dynamic verbs. Something about monosyllabic verbs, and I'm going to encourage you to vary your sentence openers using this little thing called an ing participle. Let's go. Auxiliaries. Auxiliaries are the little helping verbs. That's all auxiliary means. It means to help. Auxiliaries are verbs like is and are, these little helping verbs that often go before other verbs. For example, John is going to the shops. We've got that is, that auxiliary, and we've got going, which is actually participle, but in this case it's working as a verb. So John is going to the shops. That is helping. It's actually giving tense to the participle going. But auxiliaries also force you to put an adjective after them, and that can often take away description from your writing. Let's have a look. The boy is happy. Okay, so we've got the boy, we've got the subject there. We've got is, okay, that auxiliary verb, and it forces you to put an adjective in there. The boy is happy. But there's lots and lots of different types of happy. My understanding of happy might be different to your understanding of happy. I might do different things when I'm happy. You might do different things when you're happy. So when we're writing, and this feeds into show not tell. This is, very, very closely linked to show not tell. Rather than saying the boy is happy, we want to consider the verb more. So we can show the boy's happy by saying a smile shot across the boy's face. There, my subject is a smile. It's doing something. It's shooting, so it's shot, and across the boy's face. That prepositional phrase, it's shot across the boy's face. It's just so much more, going back to the first slide, it has more impact, okay? It's saying something more. It's being more specific, okay? Rather than say the boy is happy with this boring auxiliary verb, this helping verb, this copula, if you like, we can say a smile shot across the boy's face. There's an example with are, they are scared. Well, it's a bit lame, okay? They are scared. Let's use a dynamic verb. Fear swept through them. Okay, we're actually creating a metaphor there as well. So consider the verb, okay? Consider the verb and you'll have a stronger sentence, all right? Don't just chuck in auxiliaries. Don't just put in the first thing that comes to mind. Don't just chuck adjectives there, because really, description is carried by the verb. There's an author that says the verbs are the foot soldiers of description, and they are. They're the, you don't need lots and lots of adjectives. Verbs drive description forward. All right, so the first one, auxiliaries. Be careful with those. Adverbs, yeah. So adverbs do have a purpose. They can tell us more about a verb. But adverbs, I would say, adverbs are, what am I trying to say? They tell us more about a verb. They offer assistance to the verb. They help verbs. But then, if a verb needs help, does that suggest that the verb's not strong enough to start with? If a grammatical category needs help, then should we not consider that grammatical category first, find something stronger, in this case verbs, so we don't need the adverb? We've got an example there. The boy walked quickly to the park. Well, do we need that adverb? Can we not just say the boy raced to the park? It's fewer words, it's straight to the point, it's more descriptive because you've got the verb raced, driving the description forward. Okay? No adjectives there, but we can see quite clearly, we can picture quite clearly what the boy's doing. He raced to the park. All right, I think Stephen King, one of the most famous authors of all time, if not the most, said the path to hell is paved with adverbs. And metaphor there. All that means is that, you know, if we just chuck in adverbs all over the place, our writing is not going to be as rich and flavoursome. So avoid adverbs. You do have to use them, you know, there are places for them. You know, starting a sentence with an adverb can often be quite effective, this fronted adverbial, but if we can find a stronger verb to say what we want to say, then lose the adverb. We don't need it. What else? Actable verbs. So actable is another word for sort of dynamic verbs, really. So there's a picture of the stage there. There's people acting. If we're choosing dynamic verbs, we're using actable verbs. Okay, verbs that can be acted. That's a good way to remember it. So look at this example. Thick November clouds choke the city. I haven't said the city was very cloudy, and I haven't said there were many, many clouds in the sky. I've said thick November clouds choke the city. This choke, this verb, is carrying that description forward. It's the strongest part of the sentence. It's the verb that's doing the describing. And choke can be acted. If you're on stage, you could see the action of a character choking another character. So, yeah, actable verbs. It may help you to think of dynamic verbs like that. Torrential rain sobs onto the streets. This idea of sobbing, crying, so much more descriptive than saying it was very, very rainy. It's just not as strong. So think about verbs that can be acted. Think about, and if they can be acted, that means they create an image. And if we create an image, that means we add more description to our writing. So actable verbs is that one. Monosyllabic verbs, don't get put off by that. It just means one syllable. Okay, and I'm going to use the same examples from the previous slide. So the picture of that woman there that's been mocked up, she's not actually jumping off the tree trunk or whatever is there, I promise you, because that would be crazy. But that woman there, that's quite a tense situation. You know, I feel a little bit sick when I look at that, because I say, wow, that's pretty scary, especially if you're frightened of heights and edges like I am. But building tension in our writing requires us to think about how many syllables are in certain verbs. I strongly suggest you think about single monosyllabic verbs, sorry, when you're trying to build up tension, because it's just stronger. It's, you know, straight to the point. It finishes as soon as it starts, and it serves to build up tension. So thick November clouds choke the city below. There's one syllable there. November is 3 syllables, but the verb choke, it's just done. The action is just there. It's a single syllable, and it just it packs a punch.
You've never seen it.
The same with torrential rain sobs onto the streets. You know, it sobs. It's not sobbing, it's sobs. It's doing it, you know. So think about, you know, language has a lot in common with music, and certain sounds are more appropriate at certain times when we're describing things. So yeah, consider the syllables. This is really an editing tool, so I would just encourage you to write first. All of these are really editing tools. Write your description first, and then go back and use these 5 different steps to up-level your writing. That would be a really good way to do it. At the end of the day, as another author said, it doesn't matter, if you write rubbish, so long as you edit brilliantly. And that's the key point. Writing's all about editing. All right, there's not a book in the library that's been written in one sitting. It's been written, then it's been edited and edited and edited, many different edits. So yeah, write your first draft, use these 5 steps to go through it. Your writing will be stronger straight away. Final step, the ing participle. So it's these ing words, and we've got Latin to thank for that, but I'm not going to go into that too much. But these ing participles work as different grammatical categories depending on how they're used and where they're used in a sentence. For example, here, meandering through the forest, the boy stumbled upon a tired-looking cottage. Meandering through the forest. Meandering's not a verb there. Okay, meandering is a participle. It's actually working as that phrase, meandering through the forest, is working as an adjective. It's actually a participle phrase. It's working as an adjective because it's describing the boy. It's describing the boy. And if we describe a noun, such as the boy, then it's an adjective. It's work as an adjective. So meandering through the forest, the boy stumbled upon a tired-looking cottage. You must have a comma after that participle phrase, meandering through the forest. But you can see it's a different way of starting our sentences, and it's a good way to open your story as well, rather than just starting with I or he or she or the boy. Put some description there to start with. Front the sentence, the main clause. The boy stumbled upon a tired-looking cottage. That's your main sentence. Front it with a participle phrase. I think it's just more purposeful. It's just a different way of forming a sentence, and you should be using a variety of sentences: short, complex, compound, fronting them with adverbs. So you can use adverbs, fronting them with participle phrases. Use a variety. Again, that might be an editing tool for you. Write the first draft first, go back and do your second draft with these 5 steps. Hope you got something from that. So take care of yourselves, and I'll see you very, very soon, I hope. Take care. Bye-bye.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.